one important message to everybody, and this is in the RMP. I'm not sure what page. Cindy might be able to tell us at some point, but anybody that qualified for a particular level, their level last year, can enter automatically into their state series this year. So regardless of where we are going to be starting in March, we don't know, nobody knows. Whoever qualified for level, let's say level 3 state, they are automatically qualified for this year's 21 state meet as a level 3. If for some reason the athletes, which some are moving up, if they move it up into a different level, they do have to qualify. Right now, the RMP says qualifications to a state meet must be a 2-judge panel from level 5 and up. So there's really no leeway on that. The committee will address, and was on our last agenda. We will address 3 and 4, whether we will go 1 or 2 judge panels for those. But historically, it's been a 2-judge panel for that, and so that's what we're going to have to go with. A couple headlines. One thing that we are looking into is the possibility of COVID testing at the site. I have contacted John Redmond, who, if you don't know who that is Judy Redmond's son. He works for started a company called Inspecto or something similar to that, where they originally had a testing unit for marijuana that was portable, and then they also produced one for COVID, and they've been using it. So they've been testing it, and I'm not sure where they stand in the CDC or the FDA, where that stands, but they have been testing it and they've had great results. Within 90 seconds of a breathalyzer test, they are deemed positive or negative. And again, where that stands with FDA and how that will all play out by state series, we don't know. We don't know the costs either, but we are looking into that so that we increase our opportunities to have normalcy if we can. I would like to make a special thanks to Mike Regula. If this is the first time you've joined us over the COVID scenario, we've done a lot of work with our legislators. He has done a lot of talking to them, and initially got us from phase 4 to phase 3. Originally, we were supposed to open up in phase 4, we thought, and we got moved to phase 3 way back in the day. And so we are now working on getting together youth sports in general to address some of the legislative problems that we have arised. Right now, one of the qualifications that we have in our gyms is masks 100% of the time, and that was slipped in somehow into these regulations. So we're working on that also. So I would like to now proceed with the rest of the 2021 JO level 2 through 4 through 2 through 10 update, so that we can these first three slides we're going to go through fairly quickly. Congratulations. The program committee, Tom Cole was reelected. International Elite was Kelly Hill, and Jennifer Kraus is the new national committee chair. Formerly, Corey Rizzo did it, and she was an Illinois person. Jennifer's out of California. So we welcome her to, she's my immediate boss under Dave Stiles. And my screen's not moving now. Oh, there we go. New state chairs, you don't have to worry about. Rules and policies, clarifications, and changes. I hope you've all downloaded the RMP. The new RMP is available, has been available for a month. So please make sure you download it onto your computer or whatever area you use. One thing to note, though, that is a live document, a living document, so changes will be made online. So what you print probably will change because things are changing rather quickly, trying to adapt to what we are all living with. So that said, this is regarding to backless leotards. And remember, the acceptable gymnast attire is not effective until August 1st, 21. So this year, don't worry about it. Just remember when you're looking for leotard designs for next year, remember that the backless leotard has to have an open area filled with mesh or flesh colored fabric. Leotard is considered backless when the open area visually extends lower than 2 inches, approximately below the bottom of the scapula, shoulder blade, wider than the vertical midpoint of the scapula. So again, this is not effective until August 1st, 21. There have been findings of RMP sanction violations, basically in people negotiating their own judges' compensation packages, and you know, the judges you can't do it. In other words, can't alter what is printed in the RMP and what the judges' compensation package is. Now going to, this is new, sanctioned event minimal medical requirements, so that it's a little bit more specific. So coaches and mainly coaches can know what should and should not be available at a meet. I think that the screen is fairly understandable. They're going to categorize it into 3 positions, or 3 I'm sorry, 3 categories as to what the severity of and type of medical person you need there. For a high risk are the level 8s through 10s, the elites and Excel Diamond divisions. The moderate risk is obviously 4 through 7, Excel Gold and Platinum, and low risks for meet directors are level 1 through 3, Excel and Silvers. And what that does go then down is 8, 9, 10s. It's a high risk. Shows you what are possibilities for skill risks. It's required to have a level of medical staff, certified athletic trainer, ATC, or an EMT, paramedic, sports medical fellowship training, MD/DO. If you understand all this, I'm happy. I'm not always understanding this either. Or sports certified physical therapist, PT, SCS. 1 medical staff is required per 64 athletes per venue. Example, 75 athletes in an event floor at one time of a convention center, and 75 in an event floor in a different room in a convention center require 4 medical staff. 75 is more than 64, so you need 2 for that. And since you have 2 areas in that convention center closed by a door, you have to have 2 for the second one. So if you have 75 and 60, then you only need 3. I hope that makes sense. But that's for the high risk, minimal medical requirements. Level 4s, 5, 6, 7s, again, talks about what kind of things that usually and normally occur at those levels. And they require medical staff, professionals with first aid training, a nurse, a PT, an ATC, an MD/DO, an EMT, and a paramedic are all okay. 1 medical staff member is required per 100 athletes competing at any given time and per venue. Example of all events taking place in one area with 80 athletes on the event floor would only need 1 of the medical people required. Sorry, I'm also admitting people. Okay, low risk is considered 1, 2, 3, bronze, silver to perform the skills that shows you what kind of skills they normally are there for. No medical personnel required. Coach or medical or meet director should be comfortable with basic first aid. So in other words, it's going to be the meet director that has some sort of medical aid training or a coach that is assigned to that. I still would suggest having somebody there, so that when if you have a huge invite meet where multiple gyms are going, meet director is not going to be able to stop and do that. So to have somebody assigned for that. Okay, this was a question, and they just made it more clear. At any level, 1 through 10, the mount mat, which is that mount trainer, it's not a board, but when you see them come in meets, they're usually gray and black. They look like a board, but they're foam. May be placed on top of 20 centimeters, which is 8 inches skill cushion for the purpose of mounting and mounting only. So I think that's a further clarification. You can't put the board on top because that is hard to get in and out, and more importantly, it could ruin the equipment. So the mount trainers are fine. They're made out of foam, but boards are not. A sting mat may be used on top of a mat stack for the 3s and the 6, 7s. There was questions about that. So a sting mat may be used on top of the mat stack, but you can't use it on top of an inflatable device. And there are competitions that do have inflatable mats that they use instead of the stack mat. And you can't put the sting mat on top of it. That has to be a 4-incher of some sort that goes on top of that. And they're worried about slippage. And so that's, that a sting mat is fairly slippery on top of a vinyl mat. So of that sort of the blow up, so that you can't use a sting mat there, but you can use a sting mat on top of any stack mat. This is just an update, and just to clarify the RMP, because the old said 7 inches for the thickness of the floor. The manufacturers actually say, well, the floors are actually 7.5 inches thick now because of the thickness of the foam. So this is just further clarification, nothing that you really have to be concerned with, because usually meets will have the proper flooring. Competition formats. They've changed the numbers. So that will be in the RMP2. So when you start putting your meet directors kids into sessions, if we even have this problem, the numbers have changed. Maximum number of athletes allowed in a session combining 6 and 7s and 8 and 10s. In a traditional format, 60. No more than 28 of them can be 8 10s. In a non-traditional format, 72, and that was when you have 2 sets of equipment. 72, and no more than 32 of those can be 8, 9, 10s. All sanction meets now can a coach can request a video review. All sanction meets can now request video review. Coming up later in our discussion, we're going to talk about possible virtual sanctions. This does not apply to that yet, or we don't know yet. They have developed a new RMP for for virtual sanctions. I'll get to that in a second. Did everybody understand that? If you don't, tell Cindy. All sanctioned competitions, a coach can request video review. That's a big change.
Can I just interject too?
Please.
The rules still apply. It's not a judgment call type of thing. It is, did she have a full turn? You know, she might have a 9.5 start value. She did not have a full turn. That's something you can have a video review. Did she hit the handstand? That's a judgment call. So the rules are still the same as they were in the past for state meet and above. They're just now allowing it at the regular sanctioned invitationals.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you very much.
And one more thing too, it has to be done in real time. It can't be done in slow-mo.
Right.
So just so you guys know that as well.
Exactly. Thank you. Thanks for that. All right. Extra swing deductions for level 1 through 5s. No more than one consecutive extra swing cast after an element can be received more than a maximum of 0.5. And the way it was explained, and Linda, I want you to jump in. If you do two casts and you take 3/10 off, swings, you take 3/10 off, that's more than a fall, and so that's how the maximum deduction is 0.5. Am I saying that right, Linda?
Yes. So, and we had this for optionals, and now they've moved it down to the compulsory level as well. So if she does 2 extra swings, they're 3/10 each, that's 6/10. You can only take 5/10. If she does 3 extra swings, she goes swingy, swingy, swingy. She does like 5 counter swings before her level 5 flyaway. You still only take 5/10. They didn't want it to be more than a fall.
Thank you. I'm going to let you, this is a judging thing. Can you handle that, Linda?
Sure. The element is considered completed and eligible to receive full credit when the gymnast has stepped down onto the beam with both feet to a closed lunge position. So this is in relationship to compulsories and the cross handstand. Keep in mind that for compulsories, we will give you up to the value of what has been completed. So if the girl goes up to a cross handstand and she goes off the end of the beam, she did some of the handstand. So you may want to give her 2 or 3/10 for that value part. It's considered completed when both feet step down to a lunge. So if she only gets 1 foot on, you're not going to give her the full value. You will take a little bit off because it did not finish on the beam with both feet either closed or in a lunge position.
You done?
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep, that made sense. Code of points, keep your eyes open because judges, this is not my expertise. So read that. I know we didn't get through all this, Linda. I should have sent you.
Yeah, so basically what they're saying is the judge must hear the words. They must know that the coach said, do your scale, or repeat that element. It can't be just, you know, like Charlie Brown and you heard wah, 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 wah. You know, you need to know the words that they said in order to take that 2/10 deduction. Okay, and this is like on vault. Let's say one judge gives a vault a 0, doesn't believe it had a foot first landing. The other judge thinks that the heel scraped the floor before she landed. So one judge has a score of a 7/8 and one judge gave it a 0. You're going to take and you're going to average those 2 scores because you can agree to disagree. So rather than saying one of you has to change your mind of what you saw, they'll just take the average of those two scores in the case of 0.
And there's one question for you.
Okay.
It says, is that with all skills on beam? If only 1 foot touches, we take the deduction?
We're talking compulsories. So in optionals, if 1 foot gets on the beam, you will award that. Say she did a back handspring and she got 1 foot, or she got baby toe on the beam. You're going to give that a B. In compulsories, remember that we will give value up to how much is completed. In the past, we had, say, the girl does a back walkover, but doesn't put 2 feet on the beam. Some people were taking 6/10 away and taking the whole element away, where she did the hardest part. I would give her 3 or 4/10 of completion. So this is compulsory only. In optional, still, if some part of the foot touches the beam, you give the value.
Linda, really quick, I think where Rachel was going with that, and Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, for like, say, the cartwheel or the back walkover, if they only get 1 foot down before the lunge, are you going to take a little bit off the value of that skill?
It's saying yes. So you would maybe take 1/10 away from the completion because they did not get both feet on the beam.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So level 6, 7 vault landing deductions. When only 1 foot touches the mat stack, up to 2/10 deduction would be applied for leg separation only. So they need to land with both feet at the same time for no deduction.
Okay, I just want to interject here really quick. Remember, if you're using this for CPE, thank you, I have wrote down wrong. CPE credit, name and USA Gymnastics number in the chat, or we won't know and we won't be able to approve. Thank you.
All right, so level 6, 7 vault, consider the size of the gymnast, the type of vault where the hands contact the table, location of the center of mass upon initial contact of mat stack, and overall trajectory, amplitude of the second flight phase, not the distance from where the gymnast first makes contact on the mat stack in relation to the end of the vault table. So it's pretty much, you know, like all vaults, you have to take into consideration the size of the gymnast and where her hands hit the table. If she's, you know, Alicia Sacramone and hits the front of the table, that table distance is included in her distance.
Great.
Okay, so level 6, 7 vault, second phase, the arm position when leaving the table will not be evaluated. Arms are optional. So there was a deduction that said the arms had to be up by the ears initially, but techniques for flipping have arms coming off in different positions, so they've eliminated that deduction.
Glad they did.
Coach catching a falling gymnast. Remember to deduct 5/10 for the fall only and not deduct for a spot and a fall.
So,
And that's just if they're catching a falling gymnast. That's not if they're spotting an element and then the gymnast falls, because if they're spotting the gymnast and then she falls, we take the spot and the fall. But in the case of on landing or they're catching her as she falls, it's just 1 deduction for the fall only.
that's a change and a good one too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, spotting assistance on landing is 5/10. If they fall after they've had the spotting assistance on landing, then they do get the deduction for the fall. So coaches, the name of the game is if you spot that kid, make sure she doesn't fall.
That's what Tom said, yep.
All right, deletion, example of Higgins roll, number 4.101. A long swing with a half turn at minimum of 45 degrees from vertical. So this was deleted out of the code?
Yes.
All right, LA turns, examples for level 8, 9 special requirement. It can be a pirouette on the hands, turn in a flight element, turn from a long hang swing, turn in an underswing with feet on bar, and half turn.
Are there any questions from people on that one?
So, generally the level 8 does a handstand pirouette on the low bar, but they can do a bail to get that
Right.
that turn requirement. They can also do the giant swing that comes up within from 45 to 20 and is a B, as opposed to a turning, C. They can do that too. So that's that turn from long swing.
Okay, I thought I saw Shane reach forward.
Okay, acro's not up to the competitive level. Any acro element performed a third time and receiving no value part that is used in a direct connection to a beam dismount may be used to fulfill the beam dismount compositional requirement as a connection. Do not.
Linda, you're muted.
I know, I just muted her somehow. How did I do that?
Don't know.
Oh, there you're back.
I unmuted me.
That was me.
So the best example I could give would be a level 9 gymnast does back handspring layout, and it's a back handspring step out layout, then a back handspring step out, let's say back handspring step out, and then another back handspring step out and her dismount. So that third one is in a connection for the dismount. We don't give it a value part. So now that dismount really does stand alone, but what they're saying now is we're not going to make that an isolated dismount and take the 1/10 deduction. We're going to allow it because it was in a connection, even though we don't give that third back handspring a value part. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, series description and specific execution deduction chart. Backward acro flight series and sideward to backward acro flight series. Backward acro series and sideward to backward acro series with one or more flight elements. What are they talking about? This is the first time I'm seeing this. So backward description, backward acro flight series and sideward to backward. Do you know what they're talking about here? Backward acro series and sideward to backward acro series with one or more.
Yeah, I can't remember what he said about that one. We'll try to get a clarification about that one if needed in the place where we're going to put the recording. So if you could remember that one, Cindy, it's slide 32.
Yeah, I can't see what their point is. If anybody else does, let me know.
Jump in if you do. Tell Cindy.
And let's just move on.
It says cartwheel to BHSP. It's from Shannon. And it's got a question mark. Oh.
Backward flight series and sideward to backward. So, okay, I mean, I don't know what the point is, but let's say, and Katie Zorales, one of our Illinois gymnasts, she did a beautiful aerial cartwheel to a back handspring. That would be a sideward to backward, but I think we all kind of know.
Well, the notes below said, from the joint meeting, JO and TC previously read backward acro flight series and sideward to backward acro series, exception on specific beam execution deductions chart on page beam 29 updated to read the same.
Okay, I think what it has to do with is tempo. Like on a backward flight series, we will not take a tempo deduction. It's either connected or it's broken. So this is saying if they go backward to sideward or sideward to backward, we can take a tempo deduction if it's connected but slow, kind of the same as a backward to forward, like aerial cartwheel to a back handspring. We can take a tempo if it's a little slow. That's, I believe, what they're trying to get across here.
Okay. I'm going to let these stand, because if you you can look them up again. This will be this is recorded, so that you should be able to put it down. Plus, if you ask specifically about the slide, we can get it to you. But it has to do with those number values in the code. So,
or just take a screenshot of it.
yeah.
And it's basically dance mounts. A switch leap or a straddle jump off a board onto the beam will count as a dance element.
And their question is, but would both have flight?
Would both have flight in that forward backward series?
Right.
I believe they would have to, because a cartwheel back handspring or a back handspring is not going to give you, you're not going to get your acro series if you don't have flight.
Okay, I'm going to move on.
Yeah, and I'm getting some text messages from people that took notes during the JO update at National Congress, and one of them has to say that the flight element can be first or second. So apparently it doesn't need to have flight. For instance, you know, you can do a B to an E. So an anodi, back walk over anodi, they don't both have flight.
Okay.
So okay, this is a new one. In the past, if they did not hit 135 degrees on a split jump, a switch leap, then it got a nothing. It didn't even get an A. So now what they're saying is if the leap, this split degree, is less than 135, they will give it an A value part, but it would not fulfill the special requirement because the special requirement needs to have 180 degree split or 135 minimum. So the deduction for the 2/10 for insufficient leg separation still applies, but you can give that baby split leap an A now. And this is more for the counting of value parts.
Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, a last salto initiated but does not land on the bottom of the feet first. So you get no value part credit. You get 5/10 deduction from the start value for missing the special requirement. You deduct 5/10 for the fall. You deduct 5/10 for the start value for more than one restricted element, if that's applicable. And you do not deduct the 3/10 for no dismount in this situation. And here's another one where, you know, I could say that I thought she landed feet first and somebody else says she didn't land feet first. No, that doesn't apply. Never mind. Never mind. That wouldn't give a 0 score. I thought I could come up with another example, but I can't. Never mind.
Yeah, I was just trying to see what they might have had, and that didn't help us either. So.
Yep. Nope. No, but I think the thing is they attempted a dismount, therefore you do not take the 3/10 for
right.
not having a dismount.
But they lose everything else.
Yep. And then on floor, remember that the concentration pause, it has to be 2 seconds or more when they're standing in that corner to take the 1/10 deduction for the concentration pause on floor.
Oh, geez.
More. Okay, so starting, you know, next year we will be learning new compulsory routines. Everyone will need to retest level 4 or 5 compulsory, and the 4 tests per year limit is still the same. The testing year goes from August 1st to July 31st, but these tests will be online and they will now be open book. Your CPE has all been cut in half. So we have posted those on many of our Illinois notes that Kathy Krebs sends out every month. So you should have a copy of how many CPEs you need. And for the national course, that's also been cut in half. And you only have to go to one event to volunteer now. It used to be 2 separate events at 6 hours each. So now one event will fulfill that requirement. Yeah, that's what I just said. Yep. And there's your CPEs. But just remember, only half of them can come from online courses. This is considered live. We are all live and on the internet, so you get a full credit for this. But if you go back and watch like things that are on USA Gymnastics website, and they have several different educational things, you only get a half credit for that. Half of your clinic hours must be live.
And if we do record this, and it would not be live if you do watch it. So I'm not sure even if Connie will accept those at that point. I'm not sure but we do plan on posting recordings of all these on the website. Whether,
yeah, and I would hope that she would, because they went back and allowed it for National Congress. Right. So hopefully she would.
Agree.
Okay, so this is just a minor change, and this only occurs when there are 4 judge panels, and it's still the same for 4 judge panels, regionals, Easterns, Westerns, Nationals. There's a $10 a day meet referee fee and a $10 a day chief judge fee. If for some chance the meet referee has to jump in and judge and serve as a chief judge, and it's only a 2 judge panel, she will receive the $10 a day for doing the dual capacity.
And just as an interjection, we did vote as a committee that this year, because of the COVID scenario, level 9 and 10 state will go back to a 2 judge panel. Much conversation went into it. Basically, we're unsure as to facility availabilities, as to number of judges that can judge. We're concerned about the cost of the additional judges, and so I think those were the two. Were those the 2 of the things that were said, Cindy?
It was also because of the space, and the judges are considered in the number of participations.
That's I was referring. Yeah, that's what I was referring to. As all these meets are the number of judges, the number of coaches, the number of spectators are all considered part of the numbers of the capacities that are allowed in facilities. So and I know Sari will go further into this in her discussions later today, but those are some of the considerations that meet directors are going to be forced to handle. And again, those all may shift by state series times, because we don't know what will happen by then. We may be open and free and all that stuff by then. We can only hope. But for those people that are not meet directors, please be patient in understanding what areas the meet directors are going through, because there's so many scenarios that come into figuring this out. Spectators, no spectators, 1 spectator per athlete, 2 spectators per athlete. Those are all questions. And so I just thought I'd interject that really quick. Sorry.
And if I can interject something, yes. I would encourage the judges. You don't get CPE credit for attending the meet director sessions, but I think it's beneficial for you to know from their standpoint what they're dealing with competitions. And we're also going to do the judges' perspective, session in 2 hours. And we'll talk about some of those scenarios. And one last thing, as your state judging director, I still advocated for the 4 judge panel. Yes. I have no vote on their committee, but I do like 4 judge panels. I think they're important. So I fought for y'all, but I don't have a vote.
Yeah, it was a rough decision, and there was lots of discussion on that one. all the committees would like to stress the importance of flexibility, and we are trying to do that also, because it kind of leads into what we just discussed for the upcoming season. This includes considerations for using 2020 scores to qualify to 21 state series meets, and provide that the athlete is competing at the same level as in 20. So as I mentioned earlier, an athlete that qualified for last year's 20 state meet that didn't happen at any level are automatically qualified to the 21 state series. If they change levels for reasons as they are moving up the line, then this does not then they have to qualify, in other words.
Norbert, I
yeah.
have the pages for you.
Pardon?
I have the pages for that.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. What pages?
It's page in the Excel, it's page 49, number 4G, and at the JO part, it's page 80, 4G.
Okay. And that's in the new RMP that you all
It's in
have,
the new
I
RMP.
know, downloaded.
And it's highlighted in yellow.
And they did that this year in the RMP. Anything that's new is highlighted in yellow. So if you are competent with the RMP, all you have to do is go look for yellow.
Norbert, I have a quick question
Yes.
before the end. You said just now that in a state meet that did not happen. What about a level 4 that does not change levels?
They
That
upgraded
state
them
meet
to
did happen. Are they going to be required to qualify again?
unlimited.
Is a very
Total
good question. And as I said it, I kind of stumbled, if you noticed.
It
I
doesn't
will
say,
ask that question.
Norbert.
Yeah.
Here's exactly what it says. For 2021 state meets, athletes will be allowed to use the 1920 state qualification scores permitted. They are competing at the same level from 2019-2020. Athletes moving to a new level, as well as athletes requesting to drop back a level, will continue to follow procedures in the women's RMP policy.
Okay,
Well,
I rescind my statement saying that haven't happened. So from what Cindy just read, level 4s can use their score for this next year,
Provided they're staying level 4.
provided they say level 4.
Yes.
Yes. Please, in the interim, while we bring some more things into this, please, if you are using this for CPE credit, I'm trusting that you typed in your name, if you're a judge, and your USA Gymnastics number in the chat so that Cindy can have proof of it. I know that I thought one of the slides was going to talk about the virtual sanctions. They, as I mentioned earlier, they do have a virtual sanction RMP coming out, and that will put into play what their requirements are going to be for a virtual. What that means is some sort of meet where athletes compete in their gyms and judges sit elsewhere. I do know that USA Gymnastics is very close to contracting a company to be able to do this. So we'll see in the next, I would say, week or two how that thing plays. Please, guys, I know with this COVID scenario, we're all struggling. Our committee, our clubs, our pro members, our judges, our vendors, our athletes, foremost, are suffering. And so we can come up with contingency plans right now, and we can say that A is going to be the way it's going to be, but B could happen and cause us to have to do C. And we, as USA Gymnastics mentioned, and we're all mentioned, flexibility is our need to in this issue. I know meet directors are torn between how they're going to deal with in live meets and how that will work. It also, they were asking meet directors to take into account, but it's their job, not ours. We can just make sure that the RMP is followed. But we asked them to have a fairly flexible return policy if they can, because when things happened March 16th and the world ended March 16th, this was all new to everybody. And as you all know, 5-6 was already set up, and so that the logistics of that was interesting. And then the rest of the state series were set up, including major invites were set up or ready to set up, and the rug was pulled out from under all of us. So I'm just asking everybody to stay as flexible as you can. I know that it's been hard on all of us, and if I have performed poorly, I'm in that same boat as everybody else. Actually, I've always said from day one, we're in the same storm. We're not in the same boat. Everybody has their own things that they're dealing with, and I'm very thankful that we live in the state of Illinois with the pro members, the judges, the coaches that we do have, and the committee members that are supporting it. Gymnastics, we lost 2 men's programs and a women's program just lately, and I do know that John Roethlisberger has a plan. Whether that works, but please go out there and be active as figuring out what we can do for our men's program, which is part of all our lives, and the girls programs that are suffering also. I don't think the NCAA had a plan for this, and so I don't know where to go from here. So I thank everybody for being here.
Robert, I have a couple questions here.
Okay, go ahead.
They want to know where you download the RMP. It's under.
Okay, can I ask a question, because the next session is starting in less than a minute, so I got to go.
Yeah, you're done.
To get that going.
Thank
so
you.
I'm gonna leave.
Linda. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you. The RMP is under rules under women's.
And the other question is, if a level 3 qualified to state and she competes level 4, does she not have to qualify if she goes to level 3 state?
Huh?
That didn't make sense. If a level 3 qualified
I think I know what they're talking about here.
I think I did too, but go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you compete during the year. You can always go back. Until you go to state, you're not considered that level.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So if you want to try, if a level 3 wants to try level 4 and unfortunately fails, but they qualified for level 3 state last year, then you are already qualified for level 3.
Right.
So,
but the one thing that it will affect.
Normally that wouldn't be effect, but we are being flexible this year. Yes.
But it would affect if you go up a level after the
declaration date.
qualifying date.
Yes.
Yes. The declaration date is always 3 weeks out. Early.
So if 3 weeks out, you said you're going to level 3, and the next meet you went to was before 3 state and you did a 4, you no longer can go to 3 state.
Correct.
Correct.
So don't compete out of level at any level between
Right. The dead zone.
declaration date and the state series. All right, Cindy, Shane, and everybody else that's been on, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. I got to go to a wedding. See ya.